Hi and welcome to Movies Suck. Here we go again. You really just cannot get off of this roundabout. No matter what you do, when you're in Hollywood, it's a spinning roundabout that keeps taking you back to the exact same place over and over and over and over again. This has been going on in Hollywood for quite a while. They have a very specific aim in mind in Hollywood these days, and that is to try and cancel out white men. They're okay with, the occasional white woman, although white women are also starting to get shoved out the door a bit these days. They don't really want to see them around as much, but men are a problem, especially if they are of a particular colour. And this brings us to the current story that I'm looking at, which is Marvel only considered black writers for the Blade reboot to focus on diversity, which is a curious thing because if you consider only one race, how is that diverse? Yeah, confused me too when I read that. So let's have a look at the story. We got our first news on the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Blade reboot since Mahershala Ali. I think that's how you pronounce it, Mahershala? I have no idea. That's a weird name. You need to hear a person say it, not just read it, because who the hell knows? Anyway, so Mahershala Ali, Mahershala, maybe it's just Mahershala. Mahershala Ali was announced to be starring as the Daywalker back in the summer of 2019 when Watchmen writer Stacey Osei-Kuffour was hired to tackle the script. Now, I'm unsure over this hiring because, yeah, he can play the part. I'm sure he could play the part okay, but I didn't think we were done with Wesley Snipes just yet. Wesley Snipes is still Blade as far as I'm concerned. Wesley Snipes just embodies Blade. He was just fantastic as the character, and I do think there was another film with Wesley Snipes as Blade, and that this reboot was just one movie too soon, which is a shame. But what can you do? They're going to do whatever they want. They want to move on. They want to get rid of stuff. They want to change things. They want to just do what they want to do. In this case, they just want to make sure that one particular color is represented by this movie. So it seems. Although I suspect I can guess what colour the bad guy in the movie will be. Anyone else guess? Yeah. Probably fairly easy to manage. Could be wrong though. Maybe they're just going to try and shove all of that particular colour out the door. Out the door. We don't want you to be involved in our movie, and who knows, maybe that's going to happen. It'd be sad if that's the case, because the racial identitarianism will be going way too far. It's going far enough with the idea of just hiring black writers to write the movie. In this case, Stacey Osei-Kuffour. This marks her first feature film screenplay, although she's garnered plenty of acclaim on the small screen with the likes of HBO's comic book adaptation, Amazon's Hunters, and comedy thriller series Run, while she also picked up an Emmy nomination for Hulu's Pen 15. Okay, whatever. Although if you have a look at her IMDb, and have a look at her writing credits, let's have a look. What has she written? Well, she wrote an episode of Pen 15. She wrote an episode, apparently, of Watchmen, and she was a story editor. So she mostly just does editing. She edits other people's stories. So she's a curious choice as a writer, I would think. I mean, you'd have to have a lot of confidence in someone for them to have only written 2 things previously to give them the job of writing a reboot to a major franchise, and I'm not sure that's a good thing. But on the plus side, at least she doesn't seem to be as racist as other people that are mentioned in this story. Although I say racist, I mean racial identitarian. Someone who identifies only with one specific group of people, and regardless of their own background, will stick with that, as we'll find further on in the story. It says Kevin Feige promised that big updates were coming soon for the project, and now that a writer is in place, the focus will shift towards finding a suitable director. The news detailing Osei-Kuffour's involvement came with the additional information that Ali has been heavily involved in the creative process, and it took a 6-month search before he and Feige settled on a solid candidate to pen the script. Not only that, but the report also revealed that only black writers were under consideration for Blade, a criteria that will presumably extend to whoever ends up in the director's chair too. Now, this is a pretty terrible thing. The fact that they've decided to go all identitarian and only looked at black writers. They were the only people under consideration to write it, not who would write the best story, not who was the most talented, not who was the most suited, not who had the most experience, or anything other of these very important characteristics when you're choosing someone to reboot a franchise. No, what they wanted was a specific colour. And they went through the people of that specific colour and decided, who do we like the most at the minute? Who's the most current? Who's the most now? And they came up with Stacey Osei-Kuffour. It's stupid that they didn't, choose from the entire pool of people they had that could have written it. Their defense of the idea of only having black writers in the story continues here, with the obvious exception of Wesley Snipes. The majority of the creative team behind the original Blade trilogy were all white, with David S. Goyer scripting all 3 pictures and directing Trinity himself, after Stephen Lawrenson and Guillermo del Toro helmed the first 2 installments. However, the search for black talent to steer the reboot would indicate that Marvel are keen to broaden their horizons in terms of diversity, particularly in movies where the main character or characters aren't white. Which is rather bizarre, isn't it? Why would they decide that it's fine to be racist against white people? Why do they think that's okay? Do you think that this would be fine if it was flipped the other way around? And that it was a movie about a white character? Choose whichever one you want. Let's say Green Arrow, and they spent their time trying to make the production as white as possible, because you got to try and identify with the character. Would that be fine? Do you think so? I don't think this is going to go well, and I don't see why they think this is a defense. The fact that most of the people that made the previous trilogy were white is not a reason for why all the people that make the next trilogy should be black. That doesn't make any sense. You should just choose the most talented people, and I assume because they weren't obsessed with race back when they made the original trilogy, they were just the people they thought were best for the job, the people who thought they would make the best film, and they were pretty much right on the whole. Not all of the Blade movies were great. Trinity wasn't wonderful, but Wesley Snipes was a perfect choice for the character. I like the original trilogy. They were worth watching, and I'm not so enthralled by this. And I don't see why they're obsessed with colour. They should just be choosing whoever's the best for the movie. And then they say there's no news yet on who could end up stepping behind the camera on Blade, but the old guard's Gina Prince-Blythewood has proven her action chops. Yeah, maybe you could say that, but she's a bit of a racial identitarian as well. She's a woman who is half white, half black, who is obsessed with her black side. She grew up in a white neighborhood in a fairly well-off family. She was adopted, which is tough, and she has 4 siblings, so adopted family. Her family was basically white, and yet she is obsessed with black. Her mother, her real mother, is also white, and yet she is obsessed with being black. If you look at her film history, it's basically just all movies about black people. She's obsessed with one half of her race, which is kind of disturbing to me. But maybe that's fine. I never actually saw The Old Guard, and honestly, it just didn't look interesting enough to me to be worth my time. And then you have, apparently, Rick Famuyiwa, who is apparently popular with the Disney hierarchy, as is Black is King's Blitz Bazawi. In any case, surely we won't be waiting much longer to find out. And honestly, this seems to just be a death knell for the Blade movie. I'm already losing interest. I mean, I'm hoping for the best, but honestly, when they start going on about racial identitarianism or feminism or any other particular ism that they want to really stick with, it just kind of puts you off. Why can't they just want to make a good movie? Hollywood really is going downhill, and it's going downhill fast. Long dead are the days when the idea was to make a great movie. Now they want to make a movie with specific characteristics. Oh well, let's hope that Blade can fight through the degradation of what it is being formed by. Maybe, maybe not. This is Movie Sucks signing out. Leave a like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.